Wait a minute. Is that an everlasting gobstopper? Uh-huh. You mean to tell me I gotta sit here and listen to you eat that thing from now on? Hey everybody. Well, today I thought we could take a look at this fun little prop replica of an everlasting gobstopper, the infamous prop candy that we saw in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So the 1971 movie starring Gene Wilder, who did an excellent job playing Willy Wonka. I don't think I could ever picture anybody else playing that role. I did see the new movie with Johnny Depp, and actually it was pretty good. I actually did enjoy it. But nothing beats the classic. And this candy is what was the main kind of focal point for the most part when it came to the plot, where Slugworth, the competitor for the candy company, or who we thought was a competitor, wants the kids who win the golden tickets that get a trip to visit the factory. He wants them to bring him the everlasting gobstopper because he wants to get the formula for it so that I guess he can copy it or try to beat Willy Wonka at the game or whatever. So this is what the prop looked like and what the candy looked like. Now, of course, all the bad kids ended up keeping their everlasting gobstoppers, and Charlie, being as honest as he was, gives his back to Willy Wonka at the end of the movie. He actually gives it back to him, and that's what ends up making him win the grand prize, which ended up being the factory itself, because Willy Wonka knew that he could trust Charlie to take over the business once he was no longer able to do so. Now, these props, they don't make a very long appearance in the movie, but in the movie, I read, I mean, here you can kind of get a closer look at it. I read that they were actually made of plastic, and I don't know, when I looked at a close-up of it, where Gene Wilder is holding one, it almost looks like it was made of clay. So I'm not really sure. This one here is made of resin, and I think the resin ones look the best. I got this on eBay. There's a whole bunch of different people selling these on eBay, and they're of varying quality. Some are 3D printed, some are made of resin, some are made of some kind of a composite material, and you really have to kind of shop around. Some look kind of bad the way they're painted or molded. One guy is selling his for $80, which I thought was just a little bit much, and the only difference is it comes with a little plastic case, and I have this little plastic case, which we'll look at in a minute. And you can buy these things for $12 for 8 of them. So it's, and it's actually a nice little case, or you can display it on top like that. And then the guy that I bought this from, I think was making these out of resin. It was a little sloppy in the paint job here and there. I had to go through and kind of touch it up and make it look a little more sharper and nicer. And so thankfully I had some model paint that matches the colors he used. But overall, I think it looks really good. The other seller that was selling his for 80 was claiming his is the only one that has, I guess, these home plate shaped ends right here. And then some of them have just the square shape, but this guy managed to do the same exact thing. So yeah, you just have to really shop around. Just make sure you get a good quality one, but you don't have to spend a fortune. I think this one cost me $36 or $37, which I thought was a pretty decent price. And I think they look really nice. So I thought while we're looking at this, we'd also check out some fun little trivia and a couple of different bloopers from the movie. So I thought maybe we could go through some clips and check it out. So maybe some of these you might know, but some of them might be new to you. And then we'll come back and look at this. Now, here's a fun blooper in the movie. At the beginning, when they're doing the Candyman routine in the store, watch this little girl right here. This girl right here. Now, as soon as I start it up, watch what happens when the candy guy lifts the door so that everybody can run behind the counter. He accidentally bumps that poor little girl's head. So now watch very closely here, and I'll start it right there. So he accidentally bumped her chin. In this scene at the beginning of the movie, when the whole Wonka bar frenzy starts because the golden tickets are now available, if you look closely at the Wonka bars right here, you'll notice how they're just flat. That's because those ones are just actually pieces of wood that they cut out and just painted the Wonka label on it. So that's pretty cool. They had to make a ton of these bars, and you'll see a bunch of them in shopping carts and stuff. And all of them were thrown away after the movie was done. A lot of these props were thrown away. Very little stuff survived, except for Julie Dawn Cole, who played Veruca Salt, who kept one of the gobstoppers, she she had her golden ticket, and somehow she walked off with one of the golden eggs. I don't know how she got that one, which she has since sold all of that stuff and made a ton of money at auction. But yeah, back in those days, they didn't save any of that stuff. In this scene, Gene Wilder, when we first get introduced to the Willy Wonka character, he had to make sure that without looking, that he got the cane in the right spot on the sidewalk, right there. See that? It's a little bit darker right there. That's because it was like a styrofoam brick, so that the cane would get stuck in there. Now, Gene Wilder said he would only do this role if he got to do this little routine. He came up with this, where it looks like Willy Wonka's injured or has a bum leg or whatever, and then as you see here, he does this cool little somersault. And then, of course, at that point, we realize that that is going to be the moment that we realize that Willy Wonka is going to be full of surprises, that he's somebody that you're not going to be able to trust. And I thought that was pretty cool that Gene Wilder wanted to do that. When everybody walks into the giant chocolate room, it's a pretty cool scene. And also, this is the first time that the actors got to see this set, this monstrously huge, beautiful set. So when they walk into the room right here, that's their honest reaction, because they'd never seen it before. And the director wanted to get, a realistic reaction from all of them. So I think that's pretty neat that this is the first time that they actually get to see the room. And the set itself is amazing. In this scene, after Gene Wilder's little Pure Imagination song, you see him drinking out of those cups, and you always think to yourself, I bet that tastes really good. And then he even eats the cup afterward right here. But it turns out that cup was actually made of wax. And he had to sit here and chew that wax. Probably did several takes of it, and he had a spit bucket next to him so that he could spit all that wax out. That's pretty funny. During the scene when they're on the boat, the Wonkatania, the Oompa Loompa that's driving the boat right there, they didn't have the heart to tell him that he wasn't actually steering the boat. The boat was actually on a track under the Chocolate River, but he thought he was really steering it, and so they just went ahead and let him think that he was steering it. So I thought that was kind of neat. They didn't want to ruin it for him. This was probably one of the darkest scenes of the movie, when they're going through that tunnel while they're on the boat. And depending on the network or the channel, they didn't always show this full segment. A lot of times it was heavily edited because of the visuals going on in the background, especially the part where the chicken gets its head cut off. But this being the DVD, it's got the whole scene in here. But see, it had like snakes, and then the chicken getting its head cut off right about here. It's just crazy. It was a really bizarre scene, and I'm kind of surprised that it ended up in this movie. But, as the director said, this movie was not meant for kids. So, yeah, it's kind of wild. It's a really wild scene. Here's the scene where we get to see the everlasting Gobstopper props. So, as I mentioned, I think these were made of plastic. And if you were to get a really good close-up look at them, they're kind of crudely made and, and crudely painted. I think they only made so many, but they're actually glued down to the little conveyor belt right there. And then they would just go round and round. So it'd be the same ones going round and round on there. But yeah, and you get a really good close-up of one right about here where Gene Wilder is holding one up close to him. We'll see if we can get a better look at the actual prop. So right here you can see that he's holding one. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. I'm not sure if I can get it focused good enough, but you can kind of see how it's just kind of, well, I don't know. They say it was made of plastic. It almost looks like it was molded or hand molded out of clay or something. That's what I always thought they were made of. But they're still pretty cool. During the filming of this scene, the kid that played Mike TV, I guess he was a bit of a holy terror on the set. And I think Gene Wilder kind of thought that he was a bit of a holy terror as well. But during one of the breaks, the actor that played Mike TV actually lifted the dome that is covering up these bees, and it turns out they were actually wasps, and he let a whole bunch of them out. So there's a bunch of wasps all over the set. Another cool blooper in this scene is when Violet Beauregard is getting turned into a big giant blueberry. And if you look down, let me see if I can zoom in. If you look down by her feet right there, you'll notice that you can see the cable that's leading up to her. That was the hose that was providing air that would pump up this costume that she was wearing. So you can actually see it right there on the floor. So 2 days after they had filmed this scene, this lady, I can't remember her name, who played this role of Violet, she was in class and they had packed so much of that blue makeup on her face that it was actually starting to come back out of her pores and her face started kind of having a bunch of blue streaks all over it and blue all over it. So 2 days later, she was still feeling the effects of the makeup. Now, the girl that played Veruca Salt talks about this scene right here. They had to do this 36 times, 36 takes to get this right. They had to reset the boxes, reset the little baskets, and everything that she knocks over right here to make sure that they got this right. And all these boxes that get knocked over. 36 times they had to do this. That's pretty crazy. Now, in this scene, it's another bit of interesting trivia. The foam that was used on here was actually fire retardant foam, and I mean, they would never use this stuff today, but this was actually, it was very cold. It took them days to film this to get everything right, so they had to clean everything back off and redo it again. But several of the actors apparently got some rashes on their skin from this foam. It was, I'm just kind of amazed that they would use something like that. Look at that, Gene Wilder gets it right in his face. So, looks like they had a lot of fun, but at the same time, some of them had a bad reaction to it. Now, in the book, the very last line that's said in it is by Grandpa Joe, who says, "Yippee." And the director said, "I cannot end this movie with yippee." So he called his writer, who happened to be on vacation at the time, and he said, "Look, I cannot end this movie with yippee." He goes, "You need to come up with a line that needs to be like right now." I guess they were pretty much done filming the movie. And so the writer said the only thing he could think of was they lived happily ever after. And so that's how the last line that Gene Wilder says. And it was just something that the director liked, and that's what they went with. So there we go, some interesting trivia and bloopers from the movie. Most of that information you can find on the Blu-ray disc of the movie. It's got some great stuff on there. A fantastic interview with Gene Wilder, which I thought was cool because you never really heard him talk about that movie that much. And there's a fantastic commentary with all the kids all grown up now. And you can watch the movie and listen to their commentary at the same time, and it's hilarious to listen to the stuff that went on behind the scenes. Unfortunately, the girl that played Violet Beauregard, I can't remember her name now, she sadly passed away not too long ago. I think it was about a year or so ago. So she's no longer with us, but she is in the commentary. So that was filmed before she passed away. But yeah, these are great props. Like I mentioned, try to get one that's made of resin. The 3D printed ones have the lines on them. It doesn't look very good. The resin ones tend to look more like a real piece of candy just because of the shine on it and just the way they are shaped. And when the light catches it, it just looks like something you could really eat. So I thought that was kind of neat. As I mentioned, Julie Dawn Cole, who played Veruca Salt, you know, typical, since she played the spoiled brat, she managed to steal a few props from the set. And they were told not to take anything, but yet she did. So I thought that was funny. So she did keep her original Gobstopper, a golden ticket, and a golden egg. The golden egg, I don't know how she walked off the set with that. I mean, those are relatively large. She has since sold them at auction. And as far as I know, there's only 2 existing everlasting Gobstoppers. I thought there was only one, the Julie Dawn Cole one, but apparently there's another one floating around out there. I don't know how that wandered off the set, but it did. Julie Dawn Cole, unfortunately, I think she was getting ready to move one day, and the Gobstopper was on the floor. I don't know what it was doing on the floor. It was somewhere over there, and she accidentally stepped on it, and she crunched it. And so it was sent to a gentleman who had to do the repairs on it. And if you look at the original Julie Dawn Cole one, there's some paint missing on, I think it's one of the yellow or the orange spikes. I can't remember which one. And if you watch the Days with Jordan the Lion YouTube channel, I really love his channel. He's a vlogger. He goes all over the place and visits people, interesting people and places. So Days with Jordan the Lion. And he did a video recently where he talked to the gentleman who got to restore both of the Gobstoppers. I didn't know what he had to do with the second one, but he did have to piece together the Julie Dawn Cole one after she stepped on it. So I bet that was quite daunting. And the little bit of paint on there, I think he just chose not to repaint it because I think he didn't want to mess with it too much. But, you know, these movies were so cool. They kind of fall into the same fantasy movies as Wizard of Oz and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And they were all musicals. I'm not really a big musical fan, but The movies themselves were so cool, you know, for kids to watch, but even as an adult, I still love those movies. I mean, that's why they're so classic today, and I think it's awesome that they're still around. Years ago, I actually bought a wrapper for the Wonka bar, and so you can buy these wrappers on eBay. They're really cheap. Somebody's just printing them. And then I took a piece of wood and cut it into the shape of this bar, and that's what's inside there. Just like the real props, it's just a wood piece. So if you get one of these wrappers, just cut it a little bit larger than the wrapper itself, and then wrap it in aluminum foil. Try to keep the edges nice and smooth so it looks like a real packaged piece of chocolate. And then you just slip the wrapper around it. You just roll the wrapper around it, and I just taped it where the seam is right there so you can see the back. But it's really cool, and I think it looks just like the real deal. I think it's neat that somebody's making replicas of these bars. And then I also have a golden ticket. This is not aluminum foil like the original ones, like they had a gold foil one, but it's made of like a gold cardstock. You can pause the video and read that if you'd like. And there's nothing on the back, but I keep it in this little slip cover here just to kind of protect it. But yeah, I thought that would look good with these as a display with the Wonka bar, and I've been wanting one of these things for so long, a Gobstopper, and so I'm glad I found one. So if you want one of those, just shop around on eBay and look around, see what you can find. Like I said, those ones were $37. I think that's a fair price for what you get. You may have to do a little bit of touch-up on the paint. That's what I had to do on mine. But other than that, they look, you know, just like the real deal. All right, well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the fun little trivia and stuff. And if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you'd like. I'd really appreciate that as well. All right, well, thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next video, and have a good one.